Well, good morning, everybody. Some of you brought your homework. Some of the stuff I brought to you. I did have blanks, and I forgot to take care of the front row here with the blanks. Yeah, bring them up if you don't mind. As far as the liability coverages, hopefully while you're eating or whatnot, you're doodling on here, so we can kind of talk about what is vital coverage in an auto policy. So before we go into that, what I'd like you to do is think about the number. What is the number? So there's a number everybody around this room has, and there's been these retirement people that talk about everyone has their number. So your number is, how much money do I have in the bank? How much equity do I have in my home? How much do I have in retirement? Well, and how old am I? Meaning, am I in the spring, so to speak, season of my life? Am I earning wages for the next 30 years? So think about that. Don't worry about the spring part, whatnot. But anyway, think about the number. Is it $1 million, $2 million, 100,000, $10? You just think about what your number is, and that's what we need to focus on, because that is what you have to lose. And that's what I always talk about. When people call me on the phone, we need to talk about what you have to lose. Self-service insurance companies, Geico, Progressive, Esurance, Auto Club to a certain extent, they're kind of the dooms creators of insurance. In my email I sent yesterday, I alluded to the fact that 10 minutes could save you $100,000. That was very intentional, because Geico talks about 15 minutes can save you 15%. The problem is, the people who call, whether it's anyone in this room or whomever, they say, what's the least expensive thing for my situation? Well, that's real dangerous when you're talking to a person in sales, right? Because they're going to give you the least amount. You go to the Toyota dealership, say, what's the least expensive car I have? Well, it's an AM/FM radio Toyota Corolla, 4-cylinder, you crank up your own windows. That's the kind of insurance you're going to get. When you really want a Lexus 300 horsepower, 6-cylinder with leather and everything else. Anyway, I don't want to digress. 25% of my time is gone. All right, so. Hey, are you going to hand those sheets out, Chris? You said you're going to hand the sheets out. You got extras for the front? Oh, there's some right on the table, right up there. Hold on, please. Hand them up. For the front. But anyway, so these people can take notes. All right, so I want to talk about what's a vital coverage, because that's the title of this. So if you're looking at the coverages I gave to you, or your little cheat sheet, you have bodily injury liability, also known as BI. You have property damage, also known as PD. You have medical payments. Some of you have some of you do not. You have uninsured motorists. All right, uninsured motorist bodily injury. You have a comprehensive deductible. Most people generally have about $500. Some have a little bit less. Some have a little bit more. And you have collision. Again, most people have about $500. Some have less. Some have more. And then there's other things. There's a towing. There's a rental reimbursement. All that stuff. So what I talk about, what is vital? What I mean by vital, what is going to injure you and take you to the financial horrors of the pits of hell, so to speak, of financial distress. That is having poor BIPD and poor uninsured motorist coverage. If you had no comp and collision on your 2013 car, worst case scenario, you get a collection call, collection notice, they sue you or not, or whatever, you get a little charge off on your credit for 30, 40, 50, whatever grand your car is worth if you're financing it. You're not going to lose your house over it. You're not going to be forced into bankruptcy. You're not going to be dragged into a personal injury case if you're in a situation. So bodily injury, very, very important. Just like Don alluded to the fact that most property owners don't change their the rents of their tenants over time, most people, most of us, I included, until I learned about the perils of that, don't change the limits of your insurance. You say, I've got high limits, I got 100, 300. Well, what does that mean? So if you have your little paper in front of you, circle that first number, 100, or whatever that number is, just circle that, okay? That is the maximum amount of money that is paid if you injure somebody with your vehicle. The maximum paid. So if you have a $25,000 number, a $15,000 number, and you hit a kid on a bike, you know what you get from your insurance company? You get a letter. And the letter says, you will likely exceed the limits of your insurance. You better hire an attorney. I've seen those letters when I was a farmer's guy, not for my clients, but I've seen them like, oh my gosh, how'd you like to get that letter from your insurance company? Kind of gut-wrenching. You ever paid a retainer? $15,000, $20,000? That you write out of your checking account. That's just the beginning.
But we take credit cards.
There you go. There you go. So that's the maximum for one person. When you think about, okay, think about your number. What's your number? That's what you have to lose, okay? If you're in your early mid-40s and 30s, you got a lot of years left to go. Personal injury attorney say, okay, all right, you may not have $1 million umbrella on your policy, but we'll take your future earnings. We'll just, we'll take care of that and not kick you out of your house. You think about that for a second. It can be very sobering. The second number, so if it's say 100, 300, 300 is the maximum for the accident. So you hit the minivan, instead of the kid on the bike, you hit the minivan with say 4 people in it. The max in that vehicle will be for $300,000. So they get the fight between your $300,000. If you hit a person, let's say they're a professional, and I heard a case about this. A guy had poor insurance, and the other vital coverage I'm going to talk about, I better get to it, is your uninsured motorist coverage. Whether you are, say, a bike rider or whether you drive your car, that's the most overlooked, one of the least expensive coverages you have, yet one of the most vital. I'd put that almost tied up with the liability coverage. Why? Because we live in an area that's very permissive to uninsured people, unlicensed people. They're handing out licenses to illegal aliens or undocumented, whatever term you like to use. But the net is, it doesn't motivate people to get insurance. I got clients. They don't have to be undocumented or illegal that allow their insurance to lapse. And I say, get your insurance reinstated, please, please. And just because it's so important. Because if you get hit, think about what you earn in a year. What if you can't work for 3 months? What if you can't do your job? Your jaw's wired. You have 2 broken legs. What are you going to do? Who's going to pay for that? If a guy who has a lapse coverage or $15,000 in coverage hits you, people say, "Oh, my medical cover that." I have no physical therapy in my policy. I don't know about you guys. I learned that the other day. I have no PT on my medical insurance that I pay $800 a month for. Zero. It is. It's a joke. So that's going to come from your policy, your uninsured motorist coverage. You should have at least the coverage that you have as your bodily injury property damage, or excuse me, your bodily injury limit. If you have 100, 300, you know what your max uninsured motorist is? It's 100,000. If you think, oh my gosh, if I couldn't work for 3 months, or I had to, if I had to walk with a limp for the rest of my life, or I had some brain injury that allowed my speech to slur every time I spoke, what would that do to your career? You think about that. What is that? Is 100,000 after the medical insurance people take their cut on your UM policy? Is that going to be enough? You need probably 250. How about 500? And an umbrella, $1 million that will take care of your uninsured motorist coverage. So vital coverages, 2. BIPD, uninsured motorist. Those are vital. Hey, your car, like I said, your car's a car. It's sheet metal. They get repaired. If you didn't have it, hey, bank, up yours. I'm more important. Whatever. Not advocating that, but point is, the 2 vital coverages are your BIPD, uninsured motorist. If you haven't looked at that in a while, you think 100, 300 is a great limit, talk to your doctor friends. Talk to someone who's had a trauma in their life lately, fell off the ladder. Ask, hey, can I just see a copy of your bill that arrived in the mail? Because they will send them to you. Just look at how much it costs just for a 3-day stay in the hospital. Emergency room, you get a little surgery, it's over 100 grand. It's 200 grand. It's ridiculous how expensive it is. And it's only getting worse. It's only getting worse. So anyway, those are the vital coverages. So back to your number. You need to look at your number and take that seriously. And even if you have no assets, you say, I'm just renting. Again, you look at your future earnings. Everyone in this room should have at least $100,000 in coverage, whether you're living on Uncle Joey's sofa or whatever the story is. But the most important thing, we're all wage earners. We're all people who have a lot to lose if we were in a bad pickle. And we can never predict when we're going to be in that bad pickle. Whether we're rear-ended, whether one of us gets injured and it's permanent disability. Yeah, Social Security, how much your Social Security is if you get permanently disabled? What, $300 a month, $600 a month? How far is that going to go? Not very far at all. It's your uninsured motorist coverage. That's extremely important. That's why I always tell people, hey, I don't care about what assets you have to lose. I'll never get sued. Uninsured motorist, bounce it up there. So I know I got to wrap it up. I'm at 10:22.
Good question. This is important.
Yeah. I can find more minutes. I was kidding.
So I'd like to add one thing. The biggest thing, I see a lot of people that are injured in auto accidents. And what happens is that these airbags are creating more traumas, especially, I don't know if you heard of TBIs, traumatic brain injuries. But I would recommend, Eric, the cheapest part of your policy is your medical payments.
Yeah.
I got $10,000 of medical payments.
Yeah,
I
me too.
pay, what do I pay? $35.12 a year. I'm upping that. By the way, a lot of these people that he's talking about, Geico, Allstate, Progressive, they have deductibles on the MedPay, or they have excess. Excess is a nightmare. I mean, oh my gosh, people don't have any clue. But that is the job of an agent, is to really make sure. So I would add that MedPay is the most important thing for you to have, because no matter if you got health insurance or not, you don't have any deductible, you don't have any co-pays, and you get to choose your provider. And it helps the long run, Don. It helps Don out in the long run too, because he can always negotiate that.
Right. And if you want, and I've often thrown this out, if you want counseling in your own policy, I'm happy to do that. Obviously, I'm doing it today. Happy to do that on a one-on-one basis. We got to wrap this up.
If that's justification enough, go
Yeah.
over to the surgical center, right around the parking
Yeah.
lot, you see 6-digit cars out there. Now, how did they get that?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
There's the real proof.
Yeah. Well, yes. One last one.
Is underinsured different than uninsured?
We don't really, in this state, we don't really do underinsured. It's just the same, it's like the same thing. Some states have separate limits. Uninsured motorists versus underinsured. We don't in the state of California. Gene?
You touched on umbrella policy. Does
Yes.
that go attached to your homeowner's insurance? or
It
your-
covers the whole thing.
No, when you order it, is it a separate policy or do you attach it to your automobile insurance?
It's a separate policy, but it covers the autos, home, and kind of you anywhere. Okay, so we got to
Good.
wrap it up. Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you.
Take the one hat off, put another one.
Okay, so putting